I wasn't going to do a video today, but we've got to talk about this. Adam Schefter is doubling down on this idea, this possibility that the Seahawks are going to draft a quarterback pretty early in the draft. Now, Adam Schefter is the premier NFL insider. And when he says something, I think you should listen. When he says something twice, I think you should listen carefully. And I just want to show you what I'm talking about here. So, yesterday, he put out a draft intel article. And the title was, Could the Seahawks Trade for a Quarterback, then Draft One? I'm going to read it out here. It says, John Schneider has done many good things during his 17 years as Seahawks general manager. He just hasn't drafted many quarterbacks. The only two quarterbacks that he's drafted are Russell Wilson in the third round in 2012 and Alex Magoo in the seventh round in 2018. The team has already been incredibly busy at the position this offseason. It traded Geno Smith to the Raiders for a third-round pick, then signed free agents Sam Darnold and Drew Lock. It still could wind up trading Sam Howell while entertaining the possibility of drafting another quarterback per sources. Once Seattle signed Lock, it opened up the possibility of a potential trade of Howell, whom the Seahawks traded for just over a year ago in a deal with Washington. Howell is available, and if the Seahawks wind up trading him this weekend, it would open up the possibility of drafting just the third quarterback during Schneider's tenure. Now, this snippet was from a huge article. There was no reason to single the Seahawks out here as a potential quarterback destination. There was no need to highlight this. It wasn't part of an overall thoughts on which teams might draft a quarterback. This was a separate section of this article specifically talking about the possibility of the Seahawks drafting a quarterback. And I found that really interesting. I find it even more interesting today when I watch a segment on the Pat McAfee show that Schefter has been doing every week. And he was talking about each team in the first round. Like, the point was, I'm going to go through all 32 teams with Schefter, and he's going to give us a thought on each team. And for the most part, it was kind of predictable. Like, this team needs O-line. They're going to go with that early. This team's focusing on a receiver. This team's going to draft a quarterback. And then he got to the Seahawks, and I'm thinking he's just going to say probably Gray Zabel. He's going to say offensive line. He's going to say that's the biggest need, because that's kind of how it was going with all the teams. He didn't say that. He made reference to the fact that the last time the Seahawks took a quarterback in the first two rounds was Rick Myra. He then said, and this is a direct quote, "We're talking over 30 years without a top pick on a quarterback. Let's see if GM John Schneider changes that this year." No reference to offensive line needs. No reference to anything else. Simply a note that it had been a long time since the Seahawks drafted a quarterback early, and that let's see if it happens this year. That is a follow-up to what he wrote about in that article. I'm telling you, the Seahawks are drafting a quarterback. Unless there's just something happening that takes it out of their hands, like we just see an unpredictable run very early in this draft. And therefore, the guy or guys that they wanted are not going to be there. But when Schefter's speaking this way, he knows something. Schefter knows something. He knows that the Seahawks have got their eye on at least one quarterback. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a repeat almost of what happened in 2012. If you remember, Chris Mortensen came on ESPN immediately after that pick in the third round and revealed that he had told Russell Wilson before the draft that he was going to be a Seahawk. And the Seahawks did not obviously do a very good job of masking their interest in Russell Wilson that year. It got out. Chris Mortensen seemed to know it. He told Russell Wilson he was going to be a Seahawk. It was kind of a hidden secret then within those kind of circles. It seems as if the same thing has happened again, maybe, that they've got their eye firmly on a quarterback, and Schefter is expecting that they're going to go and get that quarterback, either by being aggressive or by taking him at 18 or by just taking him at 50 or 52. And I don't know what that's going to be. I mean, I would be very surprised if they took a quarterback at 18. That would be so shocking. It would mean that John Schneider has fallen in love with somebody in this draft, which I find it really hard to believe, because if you're going to go down that route, it's going to make things so difficult for the dynamic of the team. People are going to be counting down Sam Darnold to be booting out the starting lineup. It'll be tough. It'll be a really difficult thing for Mike McDonald to manage as well. Plus, you're not addressing other needs in the team. So I think that would be tricky, but not impossible. What I think is much more likely is that we're going to get into round 2, and there's going to be a lot of teams who are looking at this position, and they're going to be thinking of drafting one of these guys. And that's kind of where you can probably justify taking some of them. I've generally got, fringe second-round grades on a lot of these guys and third-round grades on a couple. So who could it possibly be? Who are the names that I think this could be before? I think Tyler Shough was the first one that came to mind. He had an official visit. He has just felt very John Schneider throughout this process. He threw very well at the combine. He was extremely athletic, ran in the 4.6s. His personality, his sort of grit and determination, his attitude, everything about him, his size, he has got a good arm. It did feel like I can see John Schneider liking this guy. I would not be surprised if Tyler Shough is the guy that we're talking about here. They might have to move up from 50 to go and get him. That would be quite an aggressive move for an older quarterback. He's not somebody you're going to sort of sit in the sidelines for a couple of years and develop, because he's already, in his mid-20s. He's already older than Brock Purdy, I think. So, but that aside, he is the kind of person that I can imagine John Schneider liking. I can somewhat imagine them liking Jackson Dart and thinking they're going to go up and get him if he falls to round 2. I can imagine them saying, Mike McDonald was in Baltimore. He saw the Ravens move up from 52, funnily enough, all the way up to 32 to go and get Lamar Jackson. Maybe he's saying, let's do that again. Maybe they feel that Milroe can be a Taysom Hill for them early on, and maybe in a year or two develop into something more. Perhaps they feel it's a shot to try and find a bit of greatness there with his physical profile and his physical tools, that they're going to take a chance on Jalen Milroe. He is another player who came in for an official visit. I can see that there are going to be some teams, there are going to be some teams who don't really fancy Will Howard, and they think average and stuff like this. And there are going to be some teams that go big, athletic, love the person, love the playoff performance, good enough arm, like his personality, like his pro readiness. We want to have him. Like, we really like Will Howard. There's going to be offensive coordinators and offensive people in the league who love Will Howard. And I've been saying for a while that I think he could go earlier than people think. So it could be Will Howard. We've wondered for a while whether John Schneider just likes Quinn Ewers, whether Quinn Ewers has been his guy. And therefore, is he just going to take Quinn Ewers in round 2 and not necessarily move up, but take him at 50 or 52? Or if he thinks he has to move up, go and do it. There's a few options, as you can see. And it may be that they like more than one of these guys. But when I see Schefter write that article, and then I see Schefter say that in the video afterwards, because it would have been easy for him to say, like, if he didn't know something, he would have just gone, the feeling is offensive line, because that's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks they're going to go offensive line. It's an easy thing to say that they need offensive line. And he didn't. He went for the quarterback thing. He knows something. He knows something. So don't be surprised when the Seahawks draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds this week. Don't be surprised at all. And we've been saying it throughout this process. I think this is the year they're going to take a quarterback. And John's been itching to do it. And I think he's found someone. I think he's found someone he likes enough to bring into the building to try and draft and develop. And Adam Schefter knows who it is. They're going to draft a quarterback this year, unless something crazy happens and their guy's not there anymore. I think they're going to do it. There's no smoke without fire. And in this instance, it's pretty smoky. Anyway, SeahawksDraftBlog.com for more analysis. It's going to be huge on the blog this week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the videos, any of the live streams that we're doing during this draft week. Give the video a like. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this Adam Schefter piece. You can go and check it out on the Pat McAfee show. I'll leave a link to that video in the description as well, so you can go and check it out. And I'll leave a link to Adam Schefter's article on the ESPN website. Until next time, bye for now.